What for years was one of the fastest and most effective ways to obtain a passport with global access is now on the verge of collapse. The US and the European Union have sent an ambiguous message. They no longer want to purchase citizens entering their countries freely. Both Washington and Brussels are hardening their stance toward nations offering CBIs, particularly those in the Caribbean. The Schengen area and the US government are already working on specific restrictions, and the first major consequence could arrive as early as the fall of 2025. The US has already implemented a partial entry ban for new citizens from countries like Cuba, Venezuela, and now they are considering expanding that list to include all Caribbean nations with CBI programs. In other words, citizenship by investment. All of them in the Caribbean, with one exception, Grenada. Why? Because it is the only Caribbean country with an active EU treaty with the US. But be careful, holding a Grenadian passport is not a shortcut in the US. If your goal is to reside in the US, you need to live in Grenada for at least 3 years before being eligible for EU visa. The same applies to Turkey. You must live there for 3 years before qualifying for the EU. So what happens if you are a US citizen, have renounced your nationality, your citizenship, and now hold a Caribbean passport? In that case, it might be a strategic move to obtain a Grenadian passport and fulfill the 3-year requirement. Only then you can return to the US without falling under these new restrictions. Meanwhile, the Schengen area is preparing a similar move. Authorities have already made it clear they are considering suspending visa-free access for all passports issued through CBI's programs. It already happened with Vanuatu, which was excluded on security grounds, and now the Caribbean is expected to follow the same path. Cited reasons include overstay risks, identity verification issues, and asylum applications. Obtaining one of these passports is no longer what it used to be. It's crucial to define what you actually want it for. Whether it's for renunciation, greater freedom of movement, better ranking access, it all depends. In the past, the process took about 6 months. Now it can take 1 or even 2 years. There are cases in St. Lucia or St. Kitts where people have been waiting 20 or 22 months. Pressure from the US and the EU has driven up prices, tightened requirements, and thrown the entire model into question. And the issue isn't just about money, it's about who is applying. Most new applicants come from countries with weak passports: Nigeria, India, China, Bangladesh, and that doesn't sit well with these administrations. A close friend of mine told me that more than 20% of applications in Grenada come from Nigerian citizens. And what happens? Neither the Schengen area nor the US trusts those passports. That's why more and more countries that once offered CBI programs are now receiving warnings, diplomatic pressure, and threats of sanctions. What message are they sending? It's very clear. If you sell passports for money, you will lose visa-free access to Europe and the US. Simple as that. And in that context, Argentina is currently considering launching its own citizenship by investment program, but if they do, they must understand that they will automatically lose any chance of signing migration agreements with the US or the Schengen area. The message being sent is one of punishment and exclusion. We will have to see if Argentina really launches this program, but if they do, I believe it will be a more discreet structure, perhaps a real estate investment of $500,000 and citizenship after 1 or 2 years, or through a merit-based or exceptional route, temporary residency, ties to the country, rapid naturalization, while banning certain citizenship and establishing minimum physical presence requirements that still need to be fulfilled. Many countries like Serbia or El Salvador offer citizenship by merit, but they grant very few per month and require an intense due diligence process. In many cases, you won't be accepted unless you already have visa-free access to the Schengen area, which is why not everyone can apply. The US has already stated that these passports lack real ties to the issuing country. These are people with no business, no residency, no real connection. They are simply buying a document, and from their perspective, that represents a risk in terms of migrations, security, and state-manipulated population flows. So don't be surprised if in the coming months we see a coordinated blow against the entire citizenship by investment model. A temporary ban in Europe, more US restrictions, and who knows what else, just like what happened with Vanuatu. Will these passports become useless? For many people, yes, especially for those who got them hoping for visa-free travel or enhanced mobility. An Indian person who obtains a St. Kitts passport will no longer be able to enter Europe visa-free. A Bolivian with an Antigua passport will be blocked from Schengen and barred from the US permanently. But for others, this passport still makes sense. European citizens looking for a plan B outside the EU. US people who don't want to renounce but want something in the Caribbean. Canadians and Australians who just want a second citizenship. Latin Americans who for one reason or another want an alternative passport outside their home country. As I often say, it's not always about freedom of movement. Some people want more freedom in terms of opportunity or even just freedom of banking. These individuals will not use the passport, they won't move, they won't even travel with it, but they will keep it, and as long as the prices don't shut up to $500,000 or $1 million, they will keep getting them. Nobody in the right mind is going to pay up $1 million for a Caribbean passport. That was the going rate for Malta, and that's one of the best passports in the world. The future is clear. The European Parliament will vote in the coming weeks on whether to officially suspend visa-free access for CBI countries. First, temporarily, then very likely permanently. If you want to move freely in Europe without worries, forget the Caribbean passports. Get a golden visa within the Schengen area, Portugal, Greece, Latvia, Hungary, Italy, or start a company in a European country and get residency that way. Once you have legal residency, whether temporary or permanent, you no longer depend on your passport. You are protected. And with the upcoming ETIAS system, everyone without EU residency will be scanned and screened before entering. You want true freedom to move through Europe? Get legal residency. And if you can, get a golden visa that could lead to citizenship later on, if that's what you want. Maybe you are not even interested in becoming a citizen, just in being a permanent resident or golden visa holder. Maybe you want to keep a non-EU passport but live in Europe or somewhere else without restrictions, whether that's with or without Schengen access, and have that access protected through your golden visa. You can do the same with other passports in other regions. Maybe your current passport already covers certain areas, but you want to ensure that access won't be lost in the future, or that your freedom of movement can be expanded. If you want to see all the global alternatives outside the Caribbean, I recently had a call with a Venezuelan client where we reviewed the best citizenship you can obtain without need to live there. If you need help, I invite you to fill out the form in the description and we can take a look at it together.